Arizona is obviously a key battleground state in this year's 2022 midterm elections. I'm here today with a woman in the center of all of it, Arizona GOP Chairwoman Dr. Kelli Ward. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Adrian, it's great to be with you. Yes, 6 days, 5 days, 4 days. Before we know it, it's going to be election day.
What's it like for you guys right now in this final push, the final week of the campaigns here?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're keeping a very, very close eye on what's going on the ground. We've got an extremely well-oiled get out the vote machine. We are making sure that our voters are turning out. And I can tell you that the enthusiasm among Republican voters, among conservative voters, among America First voters is second to none. And so it's pretty exciting. I can't wait until November 8th. I hope that we have the results as quickly as possible. There's nothing more frustrating than waiting for the clowns at Maricopa County to finish counting. So I'm hopeful that we're not going to have a long wait. We'll see.
Yeah, there's been a ton of polls predicting a huge red wave. I know just from what I've seen personally from people here in the area, pit photos I've seen online, there's been a bigger push this year than there has been in previous years, and a lot of support in terms of volunteers. It looks like you guys have thousands of people who are willing to knock doors, who are willing to hang up flyers, who are willing to make phone calls and phone bake for these candidates. Is that what you're seeing as well on the inside?
100%. And it's been really nonstop since November 2020. I'm just going to tell you that the people were woken up by November 2020 and what they saw, and they don't want anything like that to ever happen again. We kind of had a dry run as what was going to happen during the primary here in August. And we saw a lot of incompetence, a lot of mistakes across the board in some of our counties. Maricopa County, yes, certainly. Pima County, yes, indeed. And Pinal County, I think, got the crown for the worst performance during the primary, running out of Republican ballots at multiple polling places. So we've been working hard since, before and since then to make sure that nothing like that happens again. We've been putting a lot of pressure on the counties to make sure that they have enough paper, that they have enough ballots, that they have enough toner, that they have enough cartridges, that they have enough people, that people are not going to be turned away, that those polling places are going to be open on time and for the entire time that they're supposed to be open. Under Adrian Fontes, it was a mess back in 2018. It was also a mess in 2020. They were unable to do elections that reassured the voters that there was integrity in that process. And so we've been working very, very hard to make sure on the Republican side that we have eyes on the process, that we have poll workers that are inside, that we have poll observers everywhere possible, and that they are observing everything that they are entitled to observe. And then we've got activists who are out there that do want to keep their eyes on these drop boxes because they're worried that there are going to be shenanigans at all levels of this election. And we're trying to prevent that from happening. All we want is election integrity.
Yeah, and a federal judge has ruled recently that there was I think there's a restraining order now to keep, because there were people who were watching some of these drop boxes, and we can certainly understand the concerns if you've seen the 2000 Mules documentary and understand some of the things that have been happening in terms of election integrity. But the court has ruled that they have to stay within or outside of 75 feet from the drop box. What's your take on that particular ruling?
That was my guidance to all of our activists from the very beginning, because anything inside the 75 foot could be considered electioneering. And we don't want any electioneering to go on in a way that is not consistent with the law. But anybody outside the 75 foot line should be able to participate in the process in any way that they see fit. The people I see intimidating voters are, sadly, Maricopa County Sheriff Paul Penzone and the Department of Justice. They're putting pressure on people as though they can't have eyes on the process. Now, if you go back to the time under Barack Obama and the Department of Justice on his watch, the Department of Justice said that it was perfectly legal, that it was within the rights of free speech for the Black Panthers to be at those polling places, many times within that 75-foot limit. And if that's free speech, then people watching these ballot boxes, many times, Adrian, elderly people in their lawn chairs just keeping an eye on the process, making sure that our voting systems are secure. I think that those are two equal things, and that people should be able to exercise their First Amendment without intimidating anyone from voting. I do, however, want cheaters to be intimidated. If anybody's wanting to cheat, I hope that they worry about getting caught.
Yeah, and obviously that's been a big concern for a lot of people since 2020. And it sounds like, just to kind of circle back to what you said a few moments ago, that since that time, there have been some structural changes that have taken place in Arizona that should be able to give Arizonans a higher degree of confidence in the security of this particular election.
Yes, but there is so much more that should be done. The last cycle in the legislature was a little disappointing because we had a couple of Republicans who are no longer there, Paul Boyer, Michelle Ugenti-Rita, who in one fell swoop on one day killed 13 election integrity bills with their refusal to vote for them. We have gotten some things in. The use of the so-called Zucker bucks is illegal in Arizona, but they found the left always finds a loophole. They found a loophole where they can use in-kind contributions from Zuckerberg or anyone to do something. And that's how Maricopa County actually has set up their so-called command center that they're going to be using on election night, where they're going to have a lot of their employees in the command center watching for disinformation rather than counting votes so that we can get the results. So we've got a lot of work to do, but there are some things that we have put into place that assure more voter confidence than we had in 2020.
Now, Katie Hobbs is our Secretary of State in Arizona. She's also running against Kari Lake for the governor's race. Do you find it, so the Secretary of State's office is the administrator of our elections. Do you see it problematic that she's officiating an election in which she's running?
Well, it is, but there isn't anything illegal about it. The way our system is set up, she doesn't have to resign to be able to run. I think that she did a very poor job as Secretary of State. Remember, she only showed up for work 19 days out of 6 months. In the last 6 months. And if you wonder why small businesses and other entities that have to deal with the Secretary of State are having difficulty, it's because of her incompetence. And so I'll be glad when we're able to vote her out. Do I wish that she wasn't or didn't have anything to do with our elections? Yes, I do. And I think that on November 8th, we can make sure that that happens by unelecting her from any office this time and into the future.
Now, polling data shows a big red wave is likely to happen. It's almost a foregone conclusion Republicans are going to take the House. Odds are highly starting to favor Republicans taking the Senate as well.
Yes.
Are you aware of any internal polling that shows something similar? Because I know sometimes the polls that we can see can be skewed one direction or the other for whatever reason.
Yes, our polling is showing that, yes, there will be a red wave. Will it be close? Yeah, yes, I think that it might be, especially if there are any shenanigans that happen. But it's looking like we will take the governor's office. We will. These are two definite, I think, governor and treasurer for sure. Attorney general and superintendent of public instruction. Yes. The Secretary of State is still kind of a toss-up because, boy, the left hates Mark Finchem. They hate that he's been an outspoken, fearless leader on demanding election integrity, and they're willing to spend big bucks to try to defeat him. But I think we're going to pull Mark right over the finish line. And then Blake Masters. I just was at an event with him yesterday in Lake Havasu City, my hometown. It was a packed room. He just is such a stellar candidate. He is such a high quality person, very intelligent, very caring, and he is going to really make such a big difference in the United States Senate for Arizona and for the entire country. So all of those things together are really looking good. For our House races, for our congressional races, it looks like we can take at least two, maybe three for sure. Two for sure, maybe three. And then those other, Grijalva and Gallego, they're a little bit harder to crack because it's such a huge Democrat district, but I'm going to say never. People there are very frustrated with what the Democrats have put them through individually, as well as what they're putting our country through collectively. And many of those Hispanic voters are coming out to vote Republican. So we could see some surprises, even in those very deep, deep blue districts in our states.
And as I start to wind down here, I just want to shift gears just a little bit. What's something that most voters don't understand about the campaign and election process?
They just don't understand all of the moving parts that actually exist. Many people don't know what the party does. What does the Republican Party do? We do so much behind the scenes. We are doing get out the vote efforts across the board. We are targeting people in target districts where we need to make sure we turn them out by text, by email, by phone calls. We've already been inundating them, yes, with mail pieces so that they're getting things in the mail, door knocking, activist phone calling, postcard campaigns. Those are all going on, helping our candidates coordinate and get their message out and make sure that they are in the right places at the right times, making sure that they have the financial ability to do what needs to be done as well as our being able to educate the general public on so much. Our golden tickets that are available at azgop.com. You can go look up golden ticket, azgop.com, or Republican Party of Arizona golden ticket. You can find exactly who we recommend that you vote for in your district, as well as those propositions, which are very complicated at times. If you haven't looked at the propositions before you go into the voting booth, you're going to be spending a lot of time standing there trying to digest what they mean. We have it all laid out for you, know the props. And then, of course, the judges, those are always interesting. So I have been sharing some information from the Free Enterprise Club on judges. I hope people will go to my Twitter at Kelli Ward AZ, Kelli with an I. I care about the people. All the information is there. And also my website's kelliward.com as well. Would love to interact with people who want to save this country.
Awesome. And there's one final question here. So even with what we've seen over the last couple of years, there are still a lot of people who are on the Democrat side and who are independents who maybe aren't quite ready to give the GOP a chance yet. What is your big pitch to voters who are still a bit hesitant about casting a ballot for a Republican candidate?
Right. Well, I mean, I know that one of my main goals here as the chairwoman of this party for almost the last 4 years, I'm coming up on my 4-year mark in January, is to give people who are walking away from the Democrat Party, from being an independent, something to walk to or to run to. I've worked so hard to make sure that we are a party of integrity, that our principles are clear, faith, family, and freedom, and that the things we stand on are small government, low taxes, personal responsibility, and following the Constitution. I've urged our candidates to follow those messages and to build those up and to build their platforms straight from those very firm foundations. And I think that we have really created something that is great. A group of people who's willing to work together from the federal level to the state level to the legislative level to the school board level to come up with solutions that they can work together on to solve for everybody, not just for Republicans, but for everyone across the board. So I say, come on over. If you don't want to join the GOP as a registered Republican voter, at least for sure, vote Republican up and down that ticket.
Dr. Ward, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Adrian. Have a great day. Bye-bye.